On today's show, our Hawks 2026 Player Capsule Series is back with a look at Buddy Hield and a few two-way players on the Hawks roster this season. Glen Willis is here as well, and we'll get into all that and more coming up.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 2300. Yes, it's episode 2300 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Sunday evening into Monday here in mid-August. And I want to thank you at the top of the show for making Locked On Hawks your first listen each and every day. Check out the podcast, subscribe, tell your friends, and I appreciate you being here as always. After about a 3-month delay, our Player Capsule Series rekindles today with myself and Glen Willis, talking about Buddy Hield and the trio of Hawks two-way players. If you missed it in the past, I've done all kinds of Player Capsule deep dives for the last couple of summers. Along with Glenn, we'll have more on Jalen Johnson, Dice Daniels, etc. later on this summer. But first, let's dive in now with myself and Glenn talking Buddy Hield and the two-way guys. I am joined now by a great friend of the podcast, Glen Willis is here. Glenn, it's been a while. Player Capsules are back. We took our usual break to have all the crazy stuff happen, and then we wanted to wait forever, but we have to record it at some point. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. Life's a little hectic right now, but we're managing through week to week. So yeah, good to be kind of spinning this back up.
No, I appreciate you doing it as always. If anyone missed it, we did do a couple of the more interesting, intriguing ones earlier in the summer because a couple guys were free agents. So we talked about McCollum already and Landale. So if you missed those, they're still in the feed. They're still relevant right now. They haven't played basketball since then, so they're still the same players that they were then. We also did Gabe Vincent. I think Gabe Vincent's probably not going to be on the team anymore, which we did say on that discussion a couple months ago. And we'll definitely go through all the guys who were on last year's team. Maybe we won't have a full-blown capsule on like Aaron Wiggins because we could do that later in the summer. But I want to make sure we get to the guys that we have at least covered directly. And today will be maybe a bit of a hodgepodge because of one simple reality. I think people already saw who this player was that clicked on this podcast. Buddy Hield played in 7 games and played a total of 51 minutes for the Hawks last season. Now, granted, he has a decade of NBA bona fides, so we can talk about Buddy Hield, the player, but this might be a Buddy Hield and two ways episode. Just because not even you and I could probably do an hour on Buddy Hield. I think you and I could do an hour on just about anything, but maybe not Buddy Hield, Atlanta Hawk. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you mentioned before we started, he played 51 minutes, so doing an hour on a guy who played 51 minutes would be quite the outcome.
It would be on brand for us. And look, I'm not going to make you talk about this any more than you need to. One of the top 5 questions I get every day is why did the Hawks guarantee Buddy Hield's contract? If you want to talk about that later, we can. But
sure.
I
have my thoughts.
I mean, you want to start? We can start there if you want to, because that might be more interesting than the actual player at this point in time. I've given my thoughts. So, what are your thoughts on Buddy Hield being guaranteed and still being on the team on August 16th?
Oh, well, honestly, has a method that we've seen now second year in a row that he's trying to stack short-term contracts. Ideally, 1-year contracts. Now, Buddy's number is higher than I would have expected it to be for what his role was last year, but at the same time, I think teams are always prepared to what if a top 20 player becomes available, becomes dissatisfied with that wherever he's playing. And, Hawks fans talk a lot about Ant. They make a big deal about him saying to Jalen last year that I'm ready to come home. I talked to people in Minnesota. They say it's nothing, I was in Minnesota for a long time, have good friends there and stuff like that. But you have to be prepared. If you need to be able to send out salary to go, capitalize on a move like that, if something just unexpected materializes. That's what Ansi did last year. Last year he stacked 1-year contracts largely, and then this year you see a lot of the same. It's short-term contracts, so that if they have the opportunity to go get someone who wants to be moved, then you have contracts. So is Landale overpaid for what he gave them? We can argue about that, right? Is Buddy overpaid for what he gave them? We can argue about that. But if some top 20 player is just I'm ready to go play somewhere else, then not having 3- and 4-year contracts stacked all up and down your cap sheet, which are way harder to move in a move like that. So for me, I just think that Ansi's just trying to prepare hey, if something materializes that we didn't expect, We want to be ready to kind of send out salary picks, whatever it is. And so that's my thought right now. I mean, that's me guessing and speculating. Ansi might like shoot me down. I don't know, but that's what I'm just saying. To me, that's what it looks like to me. But that might just be me.
Yeah, there's some of that for sure. And I know I've said some of this, so forgive me if people listen to the show all summer, but it is a Buddy Hield episode. I think it was a combination of several factors. I don't think Ansi loves having dead money on the books, and if they had to waive Buddy, it would have been some dead money. These are not in order, by the way. This is just the factors in play. That was one. The second one is what you just said, as far as like having tradable salary. That's very much a big factor here. And I did hear that they were close, or at least close-ish, on a couple of things involving Buddy around the time of the guarantee date. They obviously didn't happen, but that was part of this too. Like there was a chance, I think a pretty good one, that he was going to get traded soon after. That didn't happen, but there you go. And then there is I think this is non-zero. It's not a huge part of it, but I think that they think he can maybe help them if they had to on the court. Is Buddy Hield a $10 million player? No. And no one thinks that at this point in time. But I think you could argue, based on maybe his pre-Hawk sample, that is he maybe a $5 million player? I think he's probably a minimum player, honestly. But his minimum's $3.5 million anyway, so it's not that far off. And then the last thing is that Buddy is a renowned culture locker room guy. Everyone loves Buddy Hield. Yeah. So I'm not saying that's the reason, but if Buddy Hield was a guy that no one wanted to be around, they wouldn't have kept him. I'm pretty confident in that. That's not why you keep the guy, but it's a tiebreaker maybe to say, hey, it won't be a problem if he's in your locker room because, like, I know Zach's not on the team anymore, but he took Zach under his wing right away. That was well discussed. But Buddy's like a really, really beloved culture guy who's a veteran, and they don't have a ton of those older guys. I know they have McCollum and Jock's been around, but they don't have a ton of older veterans on the roster, and Buddy has seen a lot of things. He's been playing in the league for 10 years. So I know he didn't play very much last year. He's not the guy he used to be. That's all fair to say. But I've said this before. It's funny, Glenn, you know me, like I'm not afraid to pick apart a move. It was the first thing that Ansi did that I was like, oh, I just wouldn't have done that. Would have been guaranteeing Buddy. And I feel like it wasn't like I absolutely just like killed him for it in the way that maybe some fans did. I didn't love doing that, but you could kind of get to why they did it to some degree. And by the way, he could be traded between now and opening night. He could be waived between now and opening night. We're recording this in mid-August. They have a roster crunch still. Like, there's no guarantee Buddy's on the team on opening night, but there's a few reasons why he's on the team still.
Yeah, they're over the roster limit right now. But I mean, they're still. I say this, but like every year it changes a little bit. But they're still a pretty young team. But I mean, Onyeka's like 1 year older. Like, they're all phasing into, a little bit more junior mid-career kind of phases for them, whether that's whether they talk about Dyson or Jalen or Onyeka or whoever, the other young guys on the team and such. Asa coming into year 2, et cetera, et cetera. Kingston as a rookie, like there's big questions around like how much is he going to play or not play, and stuff like that. But having a few veterans who've been around and who are just really stable, consistent voices. And Buddy, like, it was always interesting to watch when they were on Peacock. Like, he would actually go sit on the baseline and talk to so the kids would use, not my word, but the kids would use the word vibes, right? Just good vibes, right? A vibes guy.
Great vibes.
Just a lot of positivity and just a lot of encouragement. And he's that kind of teammate. Is that worth $9 million? I don't know, but I think Ansi's more strategic than we want to give him credit for in some ways, in that sense. So I think no harm in having him back, even if we might want to, have a little bit of rethink about like what is it 9.3? I can't remember the exact number, 9.3, I think somewhere around there, being kind of what the number is. But I mean, he can still shoot. It's funny on X, Hawks fans wanted him to play in that next series. I was like, sorry, buddy, but defensively that would have not worked at all, But as much as I love Buddy and the person that he is and what he brings on the human side and all that sort of stuff, but yeah, I think Ansi is a little bit strategic, but doesn't show his cards like other front office leaders do, and that's just what we have to that's what causes us to have kind of guess at like what do we think this is about.
Support for today's episode comes from Indeed Sponsored Jobs. The workplace chaos hits and actually make the right hire. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and locations. So less time gets actually wasted with searches and more time gets spent on finding the right fit for you. People are finding quality fits and hires right now on Indeed. And the minute I'm talking to you on this podcast, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. And one great addition can actually have a huge ripple effect on everybody around them on the team. When you actually find the right person to actually bring the skills together to that you want, really, when it comes to attitude, experience, skills, all that fun stuff, it makes the entire group better in a hurry. And that's why finding qualified candidates matters so much. And why tools like Indeed Sponsored Jobs help make the process so much easier for you. Spend less time with searches and more time actually interviewing candidates who actually check all the boxes that you want. That all brings less stress, less time wasted, and more results for you. We actually meet the right person, click throughout the chaos, the job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners to this podcast get $75 sponsored job credits. Helps you get your premium job, the job that premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. One more time, the place to go is Indeed.com/podcast. First, you can apply if you need to hire. This job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. So on the court, we won't go long on this, but just to say, Buddy played those 7 games. Most of the time it was garbage time. He didn't make a 3 with the Hawks until literally game 82 when he had a 7 3-point, 31-point game and a total the Hawks sat everybody. And but that is what Buddy can do. If you want to make the case for Buddy's on court contribution, is that he does have that ability to go off for a quarter or go off for a half and hit 5 threes for you. Very much a possibility. He's 33 now. 10-year NBA player. And look, he's one of the more prolific shooters in the history of the NBA. That's not hyperbole. It might sound like it is. It's not. He's 15th on the all-time career list of three-pointers made. If you're the top 20 career in anything, counting stat-wise in the NBA, you've been around a while and you've done a lot of things prolifically. And also a career 39.5% shooter from 3 on 5,000 plus attempts. We know Buddy Hield is a high-level shooter. He hasn't shot quite as well as that the last couple of years. Maybe there's a little bit of a school of thought that he's a little bit of a lesser athlete. Maybe I get all that, but I do trust Buddy Hield to make a shot if he needs to make a shot on a basketball court. The question though, Glenn, is what else is there? Because you mentioned the defense a second ago. I think especially when he had that big game in game 82, people were watching. And it's wait, why wasn't he playing? And look, to be honest, there are people around the league, I won't name them, that were like why isn't Buddy Hield playing at all? What are the Hawks doing? Why won't Quinn even try Buddy Hield? And I was like, that's not an unfair point. Right. The short answer is his defense is bad, which is the reason why he has not played more. Yeah. But is there any argument to maybe have not opening night when everybody's healthy, but how far down do you need to get before it's worth hey, why don't we try Buddy in this game? Versus the other options. I'm talking about guys like Corey Kispert, for example, who we'll talk about at a later date. I think maybe they're battling against each other for the fifth wing role kind of thing. I don't know. What do you make of Buddy on the court beyond the obvious?
I mean, to me, Buddy's not someone I want to give 18 minutes a game to, just because of the defensive stability that you need from a 5-man unit on the floor, right? That's critical. But towards the end of the game, you need someone to give Jalen spacing. You go offense, defense the last 2-3 minutes of the game. You put Buddy on the floor, and a defender has to be on him wherever he is behind that 3-point line. That does create spacing for whether it's Jalen or CJ that you're trying to get the ball to kind of close out a late possession. I don't think there's any harm in that at all. The dude could still shoot the basketball, for sure. But the key is how many timeouts do you have left? Are you 1 minute 45 seconds left and you're out of timeouts? You throw him on the floor. You have to live through his so there's a lot of trade-offs that Quinn would have to make in those scenarios. If you have another timeout and can get a timeout and get him off for the defensive possession, I think that's totally fine. But he's one of the better shooters on the team. But like I said, it's more of an offense-defense kind of management down the stretch of a game in that sense. And then, but I mean, coaches aren't doing this as much anymore. But it used to be 4 or 5 years ago, you get down by 15, 20 points in the third quarter. And you just spam 3-point shooting, and you end up punting on defense. But coaches, in the last 2 to 3 years, coaches are more so realizing the defense has to be the floor, has to be the framework that we build from to create offense from our defense. And that's where Buddy just might not be as helpful as you want him to be. But I have no problem with him being on the floor for a late possession. You have to respect him as a shooter. And so if that's going to create more space in the paint for CJ or Jalen to get downhill towards the rim, I think that's a totally justifiable thought process.
Yeah, I think Buddy is not unplayable. I was a little surprised that Quinn just really never tried him in a game that meant anything. I thought it was defensible if you go game by game. It's like he's not obviously bad. Like for instance, like I was bothered by Quinn going to Kispert over Zach multiple times and said as much. Kispert versus Buddy is not like an outrageous decision to go to Kispert, especially when you owe Kispert money and he's a little bigger and they're both bad defenders. I think Buddy's. It's actually an interesting question, Glenn. I don't know if you have an opinion on this. Who's worse between Kispert and Buddy Hield defensively? I don't think I know the answer to that. Kispert's bigger. That's all I got for you on that. I don't know. I'm not sure who's worse.
Kispert's stronger, but
yeah,
again, it comes back kind of the horizontal athleticism. Can he move his feet? Can he if he's on ball, can he contain a ball handler? Those are marginal. I have marginal answers on all of those questions for him.
Yeah,
and so that's the reality of kind of who he is. But I mean, offensively, he's good at getting to the rim. He's strong. If he has a small defender on him, he can kind of bully his way to the rim and do things like that. Not the greatest ball handler, not the greatest passer in the world, but he's strong with the ball. But if he ends up with a power forward on him, he's getting nowhere. You know, he's have to give the ball up and kind of go space the floor is what he has to do. So, but I mean, people still kind of look at that trade, involving trade last year, and like, well, why did we take this contract back? Sometimes that's just what the other team is going to ask you to do, and you have to do it. So yeah. I'm not some big Kispert hater. Like, he can shoot the basketball and stuff, but like he got dropped into a brand new offensive system, and will it be better next year? What will his role be? How consistently will be in the rotation? Those are questions I don't know. We have to see what the final 15-man roster is and see where we think he is in the pecking order. Was he 7th, 8th, 9th? Where is he in that range of players? And will he play consistently? He's a professional, decently moderate floor guy in that sense, but not a guy who's going to start. But he's a guy, like, if you fall behind and you need 3-point shooting on the floor, you can kind of turn to him and hope that he gives you some of that. But it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, we're all still waiting to see what happens with Kuminga. We have no idea what's going to happen there in that sense. But people being down on Kispert defensively, I understand. Like in that Knicks series, closing with him a couple times was a little bit strange to me. But who else did they have? Like, should it have been Asa, or should they gone too big? Should they, what should they have done? That's Quinn's job. I'm not going to really question Quinn's decision on that, but we'll see if an offseason and then a preseason kind of gets him more acclimated to all the things they do offensively, and see if he looks better offensively in that sense. But when he has a small defender on him, he's pretty good at like getting his way to the rim.
Yeah, and I bring Kispert up because I think we don't know who's going to be on the team, but Kispert's owed so much money that I think he's going to be on the team more often than not. And if you're trying to find out, a place for Buddy Hield, it's like, okay, I think he's obviously behind the starters. He's behind Aaron Wiggins. He's behind Lou Dort. We'll see on the rookies, i.e. Kingston, but they're different positions. Like, I think you're looking, if you're Buddy Hield, you're on the team and you're trying to play, you got to be a higher option than Kispert. And if Devin Carter's on the team, throw him in there too. Carter's not the same kind of player, but positionally there's some overlap there. I don't know. I think that Buddy as a end of bench vibes guy, very useful. Buddy as I have to play you guy, I don't really have as much interest in that. And like some of the advanced metrics defensively are not they're not great. I think that was probably the one thing that I was maybe not told, but like indicated when I would ask around, like, why isn't Buddy playing? It was basically like, have you seen him play defense? It's like, well, I can say the same thing about Corey, but I do get it. So I don't have that much more to say about Buddy Hield. Like, I think he definitely is an NBA player still, based on what he was last year, especially looking back to where he was with the Warriors. Like, he was playing more with the Warriors. Like, I think there are guys who are on NBA teams contractually that I would be like, are we sure that guy's an NBA player? I think Buddy's still an NBA player, like, for sure. I just don't know how much juice he has left, because we just haven't seen him play a competitive basketball game since January. Yeah. Like, he didn't play at all for the Hawks in a game that mattered, really. So I'm not sure what's going to happen.
The Warriors had like a lot of injury issues, and it was just a weird situation for them. Like,
they have a million shooting guards. Buddy's a pure shooting guard. Like, they had a weird situation. I mean, Steph went down for a long time. I mean, he was on that team, and I get why, but I just don't know. I'm not trying to cop out. I don't want to overstate what I know about Buddy Hield's on-court ability right now. He just hasn't played a lot of basketball in the last 8 months. So it's like he can still shoot. I'm confident in that. Everything else,
no doubt. Yeah, and like when you watching on TV, like you could see in timeouts, he's encouraging, he's upbeat, he's lifting his teammates up. And that's all things that, from a cultural perspective, the Hawks value that, right? Same for CJ. CJ's can be a little bit more intense, like in a close game, things like that. But Buddy's there encouraging and all that stuff. And you value someone who kind of brings that, hey, we had a rough quarter. Let's turn it around. Let's be positive. Let's stick together. Let's pick it up. You just kind of imagine those are the things that are kind of coming out of his mouth when people need to hear something more positive. And I think that's something you'd think, and from what you hear around the team, stuff that he consistently brings that kind of positivity.
Oh yeah, I would definitely echo that. On record, off record, everyone always says great things about Buddy. I mean, I know I said that once before, but it's worth emphasizing. Like, he is a vibes guy. He is a positive influence. He is a guy who keeps the locker room loose, but also knows how to be serious too. Like, he's that nice balance of a vet that you want. And the Hawks only have 3 guys on their team that are 30 years old or older. It's Buddy, CJ, and Jock. That's it. Yeah. So it's not always age, but you think about, you kind of defer some age. You want some grizzled veterans in there. Buddy is one of those 3 guys. Support for today's episode comes from Wayfair. Whether you're refreshing one room, getting ready for a new season, or finally replacing that furniture that you actually want to have been putting off maybe in the past, Wayfair makes it really easy to find something that fits your home, your style, and your budget all in one place. You can shop for furniture and decor across a wide range of price points with quality materials and pieces designed to stand up to your real life. And with Wayfair Verified, product specialists hand vet select products through a 10-point quality inspection, looking at things like materials, functionality, features, and even how long they actually take to build the furniture. And if you're still trying to narrow things down when it comes to what to buy, Wayfair gives you plenty of real shopper feedback to work with as well. You can browse more than 20 million verified 5-star reviews, along with real customer photos and feedback to help you shop with more confidence. I've been putting off in my own life upgrading an office chair for way too long, because I actually didn't want to spend a lot of money without knowing if they actually would be comfortable for me. But finally actually helped me consider to make the change was actually seeing how many different options Wayfair had at different price points, plus all the reviews breaking things down when it comes to comfort and durability. It made the whole decision and the whole process feel a lot less overwhelming. Like, ultimately, I could find something that fits without having to overthink it whatsoever with Wayfair. Also, you can join Wayfair Rewards today, get 5% back on every purchase, and start saving on your next home upgrade with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR, wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Glenn, do you want to wrap this episode up by talking about some two-way guys real fast?
Sure.
Again, it's one of those things, like, we can have they can have their own episode, but we don't. I'm prone to saying this, and fans make fun of me about how two-ways are fluid, and I'm really hesitant to just assume that anyone will still be on a two-way like next week, much less 2 months from now, because they're not guaranteed for much, and it is what it is. But we're into August now. We know who the 3 guys are right now, and they are in no particular order: RayJ Dennis, Keshon Gilbert, and newly signed Jalen Wilson. Dealer's choice, Glenn. Who do you want to talk about first?
RayJ's more on the vet side. So we can maybe tackle him first. Yeah.
The veteran two-way is always a fun thing. Although Jalen Wilson's like the same age as RayJ, which is kind of funny. But RayJ played summer league. He's 25. He had an Achilles issue this summer. I'm not sure how serious it was, because he was walking around. I would see him out and on the sidelines, so he wasn't like limping around, but he didn't play a couple games for what I was told was an actual injury reason versus just sitting. But he's played, I think, 30 games or so of NBA basketball, a handful last year with the Hawks, Pacers, Clippers. I've said this stat before, but I have to say it again. He played 31 games with College Park last year. 31 games, almost a half season in the G League. He averaged 24 points and 10 assists a game. And I know it's the G League. I'm not saying that's the same as the NBA. It's not. But, like, it's hard for me to say you fake that. And he goes in my I have the 2 buckets of, can a guy help you now or can a guy help you in the future with 2 ways. He's the help you now version. He's an NBA level point guard. I just don't know how healthy he is and what because they got Kingston now too. Like, I'm not sure what, but they also didn't sign another point guard. So maybe RayJ is like the functional 4th point guard, because they have Ryan Nembhard too. I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think Hawks are going to be spread. Like Nimhard's good. Like he's small, but like so
He is
defensive.
small.
But he works hard defensively. Like we'll talk about
Yep.
him, I'm sure, at some other point. But RayJ can run a pick and roll. Like I mean, that's his bread and butter on offense. Is he can run a pick and roll. His reads are great. His pace is great in the pick and roll, all that sort of stuff. And defensively, he generates ball pressure. He's not the biggest guy, in the world, but he generates ball pressure and he fights and he works hard and all that sort of stuff. So to me, if you haven't, and to me, I keep going back to Achilles injuries. Like these guys who have calf injuries have got to stop rushing back. Calf injuries, to me, always lead to an Achilles. You rush back a calf injury, your Achilles is at risk, and you see that all the time. But I mean, he's fun to me. He's a fun guy to watch. Like he's a grown up point guard. He's not a rotation level NBA point guard. But if you had an injury for a week or whatever, you need to elevate him for 3 or 4 games to come in and play 12 minutes behind your starting point guard. He's not going to embarrass you. Like he's going to be able to run the offense. He's going to be able to kind of generate ball pressure on defense and do his best. And so he's a guy that I think Quinn would not have any, hesitation to elevate him if they needed that. Now, ideally, hopefully everyone stays healthy. That's not always how the NBA season goes. You just have to always be prepared. So that depth at point guard position is way different than it was last year. For sure right now with the addition of Nimhard and then RayJ. But he's a grown-up point guard. He knows what he's doing. He's capable. He's not going to embarrass you. He's solid, all those things. And so to me, if you had to play him, I don't think that's an issue. Compare him to times where last couple seasons Quinn was playing Keaton, and I love Keaton defensively, but offensively, Keaton made himself into a shooter, like a catch and shoot shooter guy. But running the offense was always going to just be a little bit underwhelming, for him and what he could do. But RayJ offensively he can run your offense, for 12, 14 minutes a game if you have an injury higher on the depth chart, for even if it's a short-term 1 to 2 week injury. I don't think there's any harm in leaning on him.
Yeah, they tend to want to have somebody in their pipeline on a two-way. If you look back at the last couple of years, that is a playable NBA player, and I think RayJ is that. Like I'm exactly where you are. Like I don't think you want him to be your backup point guard, which is why he's on a two-way. But if you need him to play for 2 weeks, you could do that. Is he going to blow you away? No, but I think he's an NBA level. He's probably a quadruple A guy, probably like one of those like. He probably is in the exact right spot for him, which is a two-way contract. Maybe he's got more to show. I hope he's healthy going into training camp, but they do like him for sure, and they sought him out when he was available in the middle of last season. The other guy in the backcourt is Keshon Gilbert, who is 6'4", 23-year-old, played also in summer league with the Hawks. Averaged, I think it was like 20 and 7 in a handful of College Park games last year. Didn't shoot it well at all in the G League, but shot it better at summer league.
He did,
for whatever that's worth. It's a small sample size, but he did shoot it better at summer league. Really good athlete. He's more of a long-term variety of the two. RayJ is kind of the steady hand. Keshon's like, hey, this guy's got a bunch of tools. Let's figure it out with him, and he's younger. Summer league I know you watched, but what did you make of that, and also him being on a two-way contract?
Well, these guys, on these two-way contracts, like his calling card for me is defense. Like, he is really pretty talented defensively. Ball pressure, physicality, denying middle, just his footwork, all that sort of stuff is very, very high level. As we talked about, offensively, the key is improving the shot. For example, we heard at a press conference a couple months ago, Kobe Johnson talked about they want me to become a better shooter, right? Same thing for him, for Keshon, is that has to be something that comes along if he's going to be a viable kind of, be in your 13th to 15th range on your roster at some point in time. But the defense is definitely attractive to me in that sense. Again, Dyson needs a couple of games off because there's no hesitation to me like giving him 8 to 10 minutes a game if there's an injury higher on the depth chart for him. But the key for him is that the ball can't stick with him offensively. He's got a 0.5, but he's not quite there with all of that yet. But the processing looked better to me in summer league. The offensive processing did look better to me in summer league, and he made shots at a higher level than he did last year in the G League. So to me, that suggests he's working on that shot, and that's encouraging. But the defensive physicality, like that's what really cost the Hawks games 4, 5, and 6 against the Knicks. They just didn't have enough defensive physicality. So the more, and Dort will move the needle on that for sure. And then we'll talk about him in a future capsule. But Keshon is very physical defensively, and the more of those kinds of defenders you can have, that's helpful.
Yeah, I am. I'm with you on that. I like Keshon as a two-way guy. A bet. He probably has the highest upside of the three, but he is the youngest and probably is the least likely to play. I don't know. It's just because of the. It also might matter like if Devin Carter's on the team still, which we don't know if it's going to be the case. But
Yeah.
like Devin Carter and Keshon are like pretty overlapping as far as like their
Yep.
skill sets, roles, etc.
Yep.
I'm not sure what would shake out there, but there's some speculation in all of this. Glenn, I don't know how much you've watched of Jalen Wilson. I know you've seen him because he's played summer league and you're a sicko like I am. But he's the new addition to the two-way room.
Yeah.
Former Kansas standout, former Big 12 Player of the Year, summer league MVP winner a couple years ago, which is interesting fact about Jalen Wilson. I said this when they signed him, but I'll say it again here. I think he has more NBA experience than any two-way I've ever seen.
Yes.
Like he's played 176 NBA games. You can only be on a two-way in your first 4 seasons. So he's averaged 60 games a year for 3 years and is still two-way eligible. But what do you think of him as a player? Because obviously he's much more of a combo forward. Like the other two guys are guards. Yeah. What'd you make of that addition? I have not talked to you about this. So what'd you make of Jalen Wilson?
First of all, like when Toppin went international, of course, I had to have a little,
I almost called you for an emergency podcast. Can we do 5 minutes on Jacob from wherever you are in the world, Glenn?
No, but good for Jacob to get a chance to go really play a lot. Like that was probably not going to happen here in the NBA for him. So good for him. We'll track his success and kind of continue for him. But Jacob Wilson he's played a lot of games. He plays hard. He's a semi-switchable defender. He's not the best athlete, but he's pretty strong. He works hard as a rebounder. And so to me, he's just kind of a guy that did they upgrade that spot on that two-way or not? We could talk about that, but he's a guy who plays hard, and a lot of times that's just what it starts with, the organizations that value that. And he does play hard all the time, and that's the key. And to me, that reminds me of Toppin. Like Toppin always played hard defensively, always worked as a rebounder. Now, Toppin was a better athlete, I think, than Jalen in that sense. But Jalen Wilson, I mean, he's a guy that he high floor, won't embarrass you, will go out and kind of do the things that you ask him to do. As low man, he's on time generally. He boxes out, and so I think guys at that level on a two-way have to realize I'm good at A, B, and C. I'm going to lean into those things. And sometimes as a rookie or second-year guy, you're trying to lean into things you're not good at. But building from your strengths is what guys have to learn. It's like, okay, I can rebound, I can play defense, I can be physical, I can switch, I can communicate, all those things. And I think he's pretty consistent in those areas. Offensively, the shooting, the ability to kind of dribble, pass, those sorts of things are a little bit more on the I say average side. But he doesn't try to do things that he's not good at, and I think that's a good starting point for a guy at his level.
Yeah, and he's also it's a different archetype than the Hawks have, unless they bring Kuminga back, which they have not said they're not going to. But they don't really have combo forwards right now. Like Jalen is kind of a combo forward, but like they have their backup power forwards are. Ace is a 4 and Zuby's a 4-5, and like they don't have a ton. Like Jalen Wilson's like a true like 3-4 combo forward, and the shooting, like you said, it's just okay. He's undersized. He's like 6'6", 6'7", but also like has pedigree. They're betting on that. I think he has some decent ball handling chops for his positional archetype. Like I think he's a pretty good ball handler. Maybe he can kind of be unlocked a little bit in a situation that's not the Nets. Like he's only played on kind of like teams that just had nothing going on. Like they're well coached. Jordy's a good coach in Brooklyn, but they're not but they're not like playing for anything. So I wonder what he might look like at a team that's like trying to win. So I don't know. I like that move. I think he's if anything, an overqualified two-way signing. Like if you can get him on a two-way, I think you just do it. That was a good move. Yeah. I'm just not sure what he is going to look like. Oh, I have to do my favorite fun fact. I think he's the strangest member of the never dunked in the NBA list.
Okay.
He's never dunked in the league. Isn't that crazy for a guy who's like 6'7" and kind of toolsy, and he's never dunked ever?
Yeah, that is crazy. But he played with like a weird guard groups too. They had
guards.
They had funky rosters and stuff like that. And like I said, Jordy's a good guy. He's a good coach. He's definitely a good coach. And gets his guys to play hard and stuff like that. But for me, I think drop into the Hawks development system, get him to understand what his role is, the types of things they're going to ask him to do, leaning to his strengths. I think that's always kind of a thing for young guys and such. So I thought it was, it was good. Once I lost Toppin, I think kind of swinging towards the guy who's versatile and can kind of do a number of different things reasonably well. I think that was a safe kind of move for them and gives them some depth, especially with Mo's injury. Hard for us to know like when he's actually going to be able to come back. Hard for us to know if how that impacts him being on the roster next year or not. I know that he's a very talented defensive player, but there's a roster crunch, and so someone, whether it's him or Carter or whoever else, someone they're gonna have to make some hard decisions when we get to late September or so and ease into October around who are the 15 we're going to carry into the season. I love Mo, but they have more than 15 guys on the roster right now.
Yeah,
so
Buddy's this is the Buddy Hield episode too. I mean, Buddy's one of those. Like Buddy could be. Sure. They could buy Buddy Hield out. I would not be surprised if that was one of the ways they did it, was to say, hey Buddy, why don't we give you 8 of your $9.6 million, shake hands, and you can go sign somewhere else for the minimum and call it a day. So no, I don't know what they're going to do, but that was I like the Wilson signing. I think the Hawks 2-way group is good. It's not going to, I mean, people always, and I shouldn't say people, like some people always are like, well, it's just two. I mean, yeah, I understand it's just 2-way guys. I'm not saying it's going to change your roster or change your life, but there are better 2-way rooms than others. There have been times in the past where I thought the Hawks 2-way room was not particularly impressive. I think this is a pretty good 2-way trio. Wilson is clearly a good 2-way signing. I like Gilbert. Dennis fits the role really well, and Buddy Hield can mentor those guys when they're up in Atlanta.
Yeah, we go back whatever number of years ago was it the 2-way came into be. I thought the first 2 to 3 to 4 seasons the Hawks had like just underwhelming guys on their 2-way contracts.
They didn't even try. I mean, it was some guys that I enjoyed covering, and like I'll invoke the words Tyler Kavanaugh on this podcast in honor of our good friend Kevin. But yeah, they didn't really try on 2-ways for a while, it seemed like, organizationally. Sean D. Brown, who I appreciated because he played at Michigan for a bit, but like they didn't really try. And now they've been going pretty well on this, and it's helped them too. I mean, Keaton, as much as Keaton got poked fun of by me and others in the NBA last year for probably playing too much, he was a great 2-way contract. Like that was a provenly positive 2-way signing originally. So
my prevailing memory on Tyler Kavanaugh is that game he had against New Orleans where he scored like 27 points, and they got down to the end of the game, and I was in the Peachtree Hoops like saying like they should run a play for Kavanaugh.
It's like I'm throwing tomatoes at Glenn virtually. For, Josh Majette. I couldn't think of the other person I was going to name. It was Josh Majette was a Hawks 2-way signing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Glenn, that's enough of this on Buddy Hield and the 2-ways. We're going to do hopefully more of these as your schedule allows, and I am, as always, gracious for all the time you've given me and given the listeners. People, I send them to you every once in a while. People are like, "Where's Glenn? Where are the player capsules?" I'm like, "Guys, it's coming. I promise." When Glenn and I have 2 busy day jobs to navigate.
I recently had a job change, and there's a lot going on personally for me. So apologize for the few weeks break.
No apologies. No apologies. You're doing us all a favor, including me. Glenn, before we get out of here, where can folks find you? Whenever you tweet and things and share.
I mean, it's been a little quiet on Twitter with I'm in a job that starts very early now. And there's the relocation I'm working through as well. So there's a lot going on that side of things. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's like I'm wearing this Braves hat, but I have to say I haven't watched a single Braves game this year, so I have no idea what's going on with the Braves.
I'll fill you in sometime. It's fine.
I saw crash outs over the Falcons' first preseason game, which was hilarious to me. But we're not that far away from training camp. We're 6-7 weeks away. I don't know what the exact date is, but it's gonna get here before we know it. Things like that. ATL 29, little bit of a break, but as we get close to training camp, we'll start to spin that stuff back up. And to your point, like they're over the roster limits. So it's interesting to see what kind of choices they make around who's going to be on the roster, who's not going to be on the roster. I think Anzi's always like feeling the trade market. Is there a team that has to move a guy because they're over their roster limit or whatever that be? And I think he's just really opportunistic in that sense. So interested to see what kind of moves they make as they have to make kind of tough decisions as we wind down towards, in October when they really have to get down to 15. Be interesting to see who those 15 are. I mean, Devin Carter, very good defensively, like super good defensively, good in transition. Offensively, they're the question marks, in that sense. So we'll see what Ansi and crew have from a decisioning standpoint going forward, and we'll see what that looks like.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Glenn, for being here. Stay tuned, everybody else, for more on this podcast feed. Subscribe to Locked On Hawks. Check out ATL 29 as well for whenever Kevin deigns to talk about basketball again into a microphone. I'm kidding. Everybody else, please stay tuned, subscribe. We'll see you all next time.